Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We have a big topic tonight. We're looking at the telco industry. The market leader, MTN, announced a 15% across-the-board increase in tariffs, and it set a lot of tongues wagging. They've given different reasons for this. We'll try and understand what's going on, not just with MTN, but the telco industry, with a crack panel. Stay with us.
We are back, bringing you the latest lineup from Betway. Betway starts strong with their front two, with Free Play Friday and Swipe Bet. In the middle, you've got all the control with Cash Out and Build a Bet. Plus, with Win Boost, you can boost your sports bet. At the back, they have Smart Picks and the Partial Daily Jackpot.
You always get way more with Betway.
These adverts have been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way.
So tonight we're talking about the 15% across-the-board increase in all MTN tariffs and what this means for the consumer, what this means for the competition, and what this means for the market. We'll give you a quick history of what happened, and then I'll tell you who my guests are. So this is the first major increase since February this year. In that announcement, MTN said market conditions as well as some tax adjustments had made it necessary to increase those tariffs. The MTN position in the market is very strong, whether you're looking at the voice subscriber market or the data market. In the voice subscriber market, based on 2022 figures for January, MTN is close to 60%, Vodafone close to 20%, Airtel Tigo close to 18.8%. Of course, this is January last year. In the data subscriber market, MTN is much stronger, 69.73%, close to 70%. Vodafone 13.93%, Airtel Tigo 14.77%. Of course, quite a number of things have happened since this industry data was put out. Now, MTN attributes their recent increase in tariffs to two things: increasing operating costs, but more importantly, its declaration, or the NCA declaring it as a significant market player. So what does it mean to be a significant market player? And why does that even matter? We'll delve into all of that for you tonight. So in studio, I have Derek Laye. He is a telco industry analyst. Derek, great to have you.
Thank you, Bernard.
Those of you on social media, he's known as Pope Barnabas. He provides very rich information on Facebook in particular about the sector. And he used to work at the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. So he does have both insider and outsider information. Derek, we're happy to have you.
I started, actually.
You started, so you are the founding staff. What was your role there?
So I was a head of communications and research.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So how old is the industry, the chamber?
The chamber should be, say, almost 13 years.
13 years?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Today.
Joining us virtually is the CEO of Pop Out Technology. Followers of this show know that I usually go to Maximus for technology issues. Maximus Ametogo is on the line. Maximus, great to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, Bernard. Great to have you too.
Wonderful. I've also invited my friend journalist who's been covering the telco sector for at least a decade and a half. Samuel Dowona is the managing editor of Tech Focus 24, but he's been writing for more than 20 years. Sami, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Thanks, Bernard, and it's a privilege to be on this show.
Wonderful. Let me start with Derek. The figure I put out for the market share was for January last year. Will this be the latest the NCA has put out? Because I didn't find any.
Oh, if it's January last year, obviously there will be tremendous increments across. I think cumulatively, people within the industry today put MTN's market share between 70 to 75%.
Wow.
Across different cumulative revenue lines.
I found a chart from 2015 to 2022 where in 2015 MTN was 46%, Vodafone was 22%, Airtel was 14%, Tigo was 14%, and then others were 4%. Up until 2022 Q2, MTN 63%, Vodafone 18%, Airtel Tigo 17%. So it looks like from at least 10 years ago, MTN has been increasing.
It's been increasing year on year, but there are a couple of reasons that we'll delve into it. Yeah.
And this is a cumulative.
Yes.
You're putting
aggregated, basically, like from an industry standpoint, they'll tell you that MTN currently controls about 70% of the market across different lines.
So what we have here is voice market share for January last year. Yeah. You think MTN has more than 59 now?
More than 59.
And AT and Vodafone have less?
Definitely.
Glo is out of the market?
Glo is out of the market now.
What about the data for mobile data? Do you have mobile data, guys? Just to go through mobile data. This is our right?
MTN this is last year.
Yes.
MTN controlling almost 70%.
Mobile data.
Yes, I'm sure it will be more than 70% right now.
And the other two will be smaller.
And the other two will definitely lose. Glo is also out in that picture.
If you have 4G,
it's a strong play between MTN and Vodafone.
75 MTN, Vodafone 24.
I'm sure right now MTN is controlling way more than 75% as well.
Do you have fixed telephony? Fixed telephony. Because for that one, I think Vodafone was in the lead. Yeah, there you have it.
Yes. So fixed telephony is basically people who are able to pick landlines in their home.
So Vodafone is a market.
It's not a business that
is growing.
It was basically legacy assets that was picked up from Ghana Telecom, which is basically what Vodafone controls today, which is like a very rich legacy.
So Vodafone has that?
Vodafone literally controls that space.
What about fixed data? Guys, do you have fixed data? Fixed data, Vodafone also?
Very heavy on that because they have a lot of legacy infrastructure in the ground.
So we have mobile voice, fixed telephony, mobile data, fixed data, broadband, and 4G. Mm-hmm. Which of these is the most lucrative?
I would say data, the area of data. So you can this is like typically like maybe like the likes of turbo nets, the fiber to the home.
So the broadband wireless, the 4G, yes, and the fixed data will be there.
Those are the rich areas of revenue.
So mobile data, MTN is 70%. This is a lucrative sector.
Yes.
4G, MTN is 75%.
Yep.
And then even for mobile voice.
Yep.
And when you aggregate the whole thing,
MTN is controlling over 70% of the market across.
Wonderful. Give me a quick overview of how we got here, the history of this sector.
So Bernard, playing it back to, let's say, 3 decades ago, in the 1990s, when I was a toddler, I'm sure by that time. So Ghana's telecom industry, as we know, it was controlled by, we used to call it Ghana, by the government. So we used to call it Ghana Post and Telecoms Corporation. And that time, too, we know they used to lack a lot of modern infrastructure. Then we saw, and they were the sole providers of telecom service at that time. Then we saw maybe just about 1994, which we literally will call the liberalization. Mm-hmm. There again, we saw that Ghana began to initiate reforms. Yeah. And that's when we saw the enactment of the National Communications Authority Law Act in 1996, which brought the NCA in as a regulator to oversee, regulate the industry space as well. Then in 1997, right after that, when we opened up to competition, so that's where you have the market liberalization. And in that time, we saw the likes of Melecom join into this. That was the first time a private entity jumped into the fray to compete with the government owned telecom business. Then in the 2000s, as we know it, is when we now saw the real introduction of mobile services, which is really where the business now began. We began to see surge in telecom usage. So that's when you see we typically call it the mobile boom. The likes of MTN dropped into the space. And beyond that, we've seen more and more technological advancements. We've seen the likes of fiber. We've seen the likes of mobile money. And we're looking out to different types of revenue lines. Like today, even people are talking satellite and all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maximus, what's your take on the story we've just told you? Because a decade and a half ago, it seemed like a very competitive field. Right now, it's almost a quasi-monopoly in a sense, particularly for the non-fixed. What's your recollection of how the industry has evolved?
Yeah, for me, I think it's a clear evidence of those who innovate to dominate the market, and those who are disadvantaged, maybe not having the know-how or the funding to be able to also compete in the space. Now, you could see clearly that over the years, one particular telecom company has been able to champion innovation, bringing the user experience to its customers, right? So flashing, per seconds billing, and all that. One particular, telecom company, of course, Space Phone started all that. And over the years, you realize they introduced both, economically viable and socially relevant engagements or activations to be able to solidify their presence in the market. And over the years, you can clearly see that MTN has championed that. For me, I'm not surprised that they are the significant market power as at now, because when they started talking about mobile money, most of the telcos did not even want to talk about it, or they didn't have the interest to even develop or be part of that ecosystem. Now it is big. That's why you have MTN owning even the word mobile money. When you talk mobile money, it's MTN. The rest is Vodafone Cash or Airtel Money. And for me, and they've sponsored a lot of tech events. They've sponsored a lot of culturally relevant activations or festivals and the rest to bring home the whole brand personality to the Ghanaian. Others have done something, but they've not connected the way MTN has connected at different dimensions, right? Music shows, entertainment shows, technology shows, funeral, festivals, and a whole lot of other activations that the others were not doing or were not sponsoring. And based on the fact that MTN also innovated, so they were able to, develop each of the product lines that they had targeting different people, MTN Business, Mobile Money, and the rest. And for me, the regulator, I'm sure they saw what was happening. They saw the numbers. I'm not sure MTN was 40% controller of the market 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I'm sure the regulators saw what was happening and the fact that the others are not able to catch up, right? So MTN did a lot of first mover, activations that is yielding fruit currently.
We'll elaborate on that. I'll let you elaborate on that. I just wanted your opening thoughts. I wanted to ask Samuel your comments about this evolution, particularly about Glo, because I think a few years ago, there was some excitement in the market that Glo was coming to append and change things.
2009, actually.
2009, people really felt that Glo was going to distort the market because we saw Adenuga, larger than life, coming from Nigeria. And you covered that story. What happened? How come the Glo thing never materialized? Because some people felt that this was the real true competition MTN was going to face. Do you remember that story? And what happened to Glo?
Yeah, thank you very much. So just to roll back a bit to the history. I mean, from what I remember, way back in 1990, that was when actually Millicom was licensed, and in '92 was when the first mobile phone call was made. But remember that those times, and of course in '95 we also licensed '93 we also licensed the Celtel, which became Kasapa. Now all these licenses were within the analog space. One is an e-tax, and the other is apps. I mean, these are technical things. We can leave them, but then let's just understand that those were analog, systems. And so the first ever GSM, which was Space Phone, or let me say Scanco, was licensed in 1996. And of course, there was some advantage of the GSM, platform over the analog. So there were some limitations with the analog system. And so I believe that is where some advantage, was in terms of Space Phone, which became MTN later on, got a certain edge and then started leading the market from there. I mean, people can attribute it to so many things. They attribute it to political machinations and all the bad. That's not what we are here to discuss. Then, of course, so fasting forward to, so if you want to get the history as to how come MTN started getting the MTN family in terms of Space Phone, Ariba, MTN started getting an edge. We should know that they were the first to get the TSM, a license, okay, which has got a little bit of an advantage over the analog one. So that's one. Now let's talk about Glo.
No, but Sammy, hold on. Sammy, hold on. That was a choice they made, right? Because Celtel opted to use a different technology. So it wasn't as if it was the government that decided to give MTN GSM. It was a strategic choice they made, or they made a bet on GSM, because in the US at the time, they were not using GSM. It was an Europe-based technology. So I wanted you to point out that it was not as if it was a given. This was a choice they made which materialized, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I'm mentioning that some people raised issues about machinations, because I remember very well the chairman at the time of Millicom, his name is Mr. Inja, if I remember the name very well. He actually stated it in public that the political regime at the time put stumbling blocks in his way from getting the GSM, license. So that's why I said that there were some comments about some machinations. But of course, initially, yes, the decision was to start with analog, yes, because yes, CDMA was very big in the US, and that is an analog system. So like everybody now thought that that's the way to go. But then they realized that GSMA seemed to have a little bit more of an advantage. So yes, it was a choice. But then I'm saying that it has been stated in public by a chairman of Millicom that there were stumbling blocks in his way from getting. Yeah, so that's why I said that. Okay, right. So Glo. Listen, I can only attribute Glo's problem to only one thing. Every single decision, every single step that Glo was taking is decided from the center. They decided from Nigeria. Even in selecting brand ambassadors, the brand ambassadors were engaged directly, individually, by the bosses in Nigeria. If you're running an operation and you have put people in charge in Ghana, and every single decision you have to take as far as Ghana is concerned has to be taken in Nigeria. You were heading towards four. That's number one. Number two, Glo, for some reason, they kept changing their Ghana head of business. The CEO, they call it head of business. They kept changing. In fact, for the short period that they were here, they changed the head of business about 6 times. You can't expect to make a headway when you keep changing the people at the top. And it's like you don't even trust local to run the company. You keep changing and changing and changing and changing. So Glo's problem, it's something else.
All right, let me come in and talk about Vodafone briefly. But I want to make a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment on that because just to put on record, I worked at MTN for 3 years.
Okay.
So some of the things that Sami was saying, I can relate to it. And in MTN, I used to do reputation research, planning and budgeting.
Yeah.
My work within my space, Maruna Duma was my boss's boss by then, and what we used to do was we typically would do research to understand what people think about the company.
Yeah.
And this we used to basically inform management decision, and then we also use it to draw the company's social marketing plans, campaigns. So whether it comes to festivals, so when you see MTN running around festivals, it's not because we just like to go there, they like to go there, but it's been carefully thought through and it's delivered to that kind of, the execution is well thought through. And I used to remember in MTN, it's almost like a daily meeting to discuss what happened the previous day. And if something went wrong, there'll be immediate remedy for that problem. And so that plays into the Glo scenario where when decision has to be made, it could sometimes, you could hear, come back in 2 weeks, Chema will come back in 2 weeks, he'll be in the market in 2 weeks, Chema will come in 3 weeks.
So they were bound to
the corporate culture definitely was not ready for a market like this. I have scenarios because when I moved to the chamber, Glo was part of our members, and I remember at the time, you would see somebody, he's coming from Nigeria to come and basically fix fiber. And you come to the chamber, you have a meeting, say, Olusola, so what products is Glo coming? Then you say, me, I come to lay fiber. When I finish, I'll go back to my country. No. And that's somebody, and that's you can't run a business like that where the people in the business are not even ambassadors ambassadors for the business. They are only about what they've been sent to come and deal with and collect their money.
Let's talk about, and I'm trying to build the background so we get to where we are today. Vodafone for a while was a strong competitor to MTN. Government has a 30% share. What's your reading of what happened to Vodafone? They are still in the market, but it seems as if the promise of competing against MTN never really materialized.
The story behind Vodafone and maybe MTN, so this is a very good way to pair the two of them and basically do a comparative analysis. The truth between the two entities is that one was investing heavily, one was not investing heavily.
It boils down to investment.
It boils down to investment. It's as simple as anybody that basically understands this industry will tell you that the difference between why MTN is separated or distinguished itself from the other competitors is a question of investment. So you would hear some of ex-CFOs of Vodafone will tell you that we're not investing, and when we look at the numbers that MTN is investing into the network. You see, Ben, we've moved from where customers are about nice adverts, nice brand. Everybody was saying we are here first, we are painting homes in communities. We've passed that stage. Right now, it's really a question of QoE, quality of experience. If I open Google and it doesn't pop up like, you see, if for some telcos, when you open Google, it just pops up like you just clicked an application. For some, it's almost like the thing is now loading. That experience, customers that we are seeing today have very little time to waste to be engaged in an experience that does not serve their needs. So you realize that MTN's experience is very, very significant for customers who use their network. And that has culminated in people that consistently want to stay stuck with them, irrespective of whether they are increasing prices or not.
So it's a question of the quality of the service and investment.
Quality of service, quality of investment, experience.
Maximus, what's your reading of the Vodafone story? Some people say government involvement, he says lack of investment. What else is the difference between the two? Why did the promise of competition against MTN not materialize?
Yeah, usually when you have a huge player like MTN coming from South Africa to the market like Ghana, I'm sure you will know they are not coming to just play around. They are coming for the market. And they've been innovative, like Pope said. They have been very innovative. There have been a lot of, first mover, what do you call it, approaches to marketing and telecommunication and offering different service bundles that their customers will use. For me, one of the reasons why people stay on the network is not just about the pricing. The reliability is also very key. The fact that anytime I pick the phone and I send a call, or it terminates at the other end of the number I'm trying to call. Is that simple? If I want to use data, it's there. And MTN has been able to, offer that service to their customers, aside all the other activations that, creates that brand affinity for them. And the other telcos, I'm sure they also had the opportunity. Most of them also got the GSM license and all that, but they were not market-driven like MTN has been. As for that, it's a fact, right? And MTN has used different marketing approaches to getting more customers, aside pricing or making the prices cheaper, right, for affordable for their customers. So if we have an SMP policy being implemented and they are being forced to, create an arbitrage in their pricing to the advantage of the other competitors in the market, trust me, it's not going to work, because people want reliability first before pricing.
All right. So Derek has spoken about investment and customer experience. Maximus has spoken about marketing. So those are the two. Let me just take a quick comment on this from Samuel before I move to the others. Then when we come back, we'll look at the issue of the SNP and the recent price adjustment. Samuel, what happened to Vodafone?
Vodafone. So let me begin from way back, and then I'll come quickly to now. So Vodafone, remember when MTN launched, Spacephone launched first in this country. Spacephone started by selling their SIM cards at the time for 600,000. 600,000 was half of the price that Vodafone was selling. And Vodafone at the time, well, it wasn't Vodafone, it was
GT.
What's the name?
Ghana Telecom.
GT.
Ghana
It
Telecom.
was One Touch.
One Touch.
One Touch was sort of like relishing in the fact that they are like a premium platform. So they were selling their SIM cards for 1.2 million. And so if anybody had a One Touch SIM, they are the big man, and everybody else is like nothing. And MTN saw that, look, the way to go is to get deep into the market. So they were selling a half of the price. And that's how MTN captured the market. So yes, so for me, Vodafone, if you ask me, Vodafone, and all the way from the time of One Touch to now, Vodafone has been acting like an elitist, elitist player. And I have written a very big article about this matter, and I've given you reasons why I came to that conclusion. And one of it is what I've just told you. They were selling SIM cards at a very high price, and they were relishing in the fact, but they were not thinking about the fact that they were not growing. They were not growing in terms of subscribers. And this telecoms game is a game of numbers. It's not about having high-end customers, because if they are, and remember, one of the Vodafone CEOs, when he came to this country, his name was White. He said that the few high-end customers, what they bring to him is way more than what a huge, a big crowd of customers can bring to him. So as for him, that's what he's targeting. So you see the philosophy with which he came to the market. You understand? And then when we took him on, then he started something we call Happy Feet. And he started going into marketplace. And then when he did the Happy Feet, then he called me in particular, called the president. So he said, now we are doing Happy Feet. I'm like, even for you to say that, you understand? It's as if, yes, I am an elitist person, but see, I'm also doing something for the people on the ground. There was a time when their mass market customers complain about increase in data prices without giving them prior notice. I was even complaining that MTN gave us only 4 days prior notice before this one. But they even increased the price without giving prior notice. When the people complained, the man went on record in the media to say that what the customers are saying is rubbish. Now, you see, so Vodafone, through and through, they have been like an elitist platform. When 4G was coming, into this country, Vodafone published it at the time their CEO was Yolanda Cuba. She said that this one, we don't have the devices, we don't have the what do you call it, to be able to boost the uptake of 4G. So they were not. Now, when the license came in, they realized that MTN was going to get an edge over them. Then they held a forum saying that, we are going to our platform, our 3G platform is going to support IoT. And so they want to say that, so when it comes to the IoT narrative, they want to be the ones leading. You don't even have a 4G platform. You don't even have 4G license. But you are just, so they jump into sort of like branding, but they don't make the investment. So see, the investment question is very important. The investment to support branding language they put out there.
All right, there. Samuel, you're on fire. You're on fire for me. I'll take a short break so you can cool down. This is the point of view. We are basically just getting a sense of the history of the telco sector in Ghana, and then delving into the latest controversy over the 15% across the board price increase that MTN has implemented, blaming the significant market player designation of the NCA. My guest, Maximus Ametogo, Derek Laye, and then Samuel Dowona. Stay with us.
Intestinal worms may cause itching, abdominal pains, loss of appetite, and anemia. Intestinal worms may enter the body through improperly cooked foods, dust, or contaminated soils. Wormplex 400 is an effective dewormer for both adults and children and can be taken at any time of the day. It is recommended to deworm periodically. 1 tablet of Wemplex 400 kills intestinal worms, roundworms, hookworms, tapeworms, and other intestinal worms. I recommend Wemplex 400 to you because it has worked for my family. Lactating mothers, pregnant women, and children under 2 years should consult their physician before taking Wemplex 400.
Wemplex 400, yeah.
Wemplex 400, as soon tamfo. This advert is FDA approved.
We are back, bringing you the latest lineup from Betway. Betway starts strong with their front two, with Free Play Friday and Swipe Bet. In the middle, you've got all the control with Cash Out and Build a Bet. Plus, with Win Boost, you can boost your sports bets. At the back, they have Smart Picks and the partial daily jackpot.
You always get way more with Betway.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way.
Welcome back. So we've learned a few things tonight on a point of view. My guest, Barnabas is his nickname. It's called Derek Lai, former head of corporate comms for the Chamber of Telecoms, now a technology telecoms consultant. We also have Maximus Ametogo, CEO of Pop Out, and then we have Samuel Dowona, who's the managing editor of Tech 24. Now, we've learned, according to my panel, the reason MTN has done better than Vodafone is lack of investment on the part of Vodafone. MTN has been investing more. MTN has a better customer sort of experience. Maximus has also spoken about marketing orientation of MTN compared to Vodafone. Samuel is also saying that Vodafone has been a bit elitist. That's quite a serious thing to say. But let's not forget where the investments come from. MTN is South African.
Yes.
But Vodafone is UK, but there's also Ghana government there. You guys have
30%.
We own 30%, although we're not giving cash for it. we have 30% of that. We haven't even spoken about Airtel and Tigo yet. But you wanted to make a comment about the Vodafone point.
On the cash part, before I come on the cash part, interestingly, government of Ghana never contributes when there's cash call on the Vodafone investment part. So government of Ghana itself is complicit in that.
So the lack of investment, the government of Ghana is culpable.
Well, obviously, if there's a cash call and you own 30% of a business, you're supposed to invest 1 million this year. You have to bring 300,000. That's the reason why you're an owner. Unless we have specific lines that says that you shouldn't invest. But why are you calling yourself an owner? But in the context of why Sami called them elitist, I think that there's a Pareto principle plays out in the sense that for anybody who understands this industry, usually 20% of the subscriber base make you actually 80% revenue than the 80% who are buying 10 CD and 1 CD and they make a lot more noise when it doesn't happen. But the point that Sami is making that's also crucial is the fact that in the late 90s, when people were able to acquire only one-touch SIM cards, the people who could acquire one-touch SIM cards were big men. Mm-hmm. Those people were in their late 40s, 50s. These are the big men, 50s, 60s. Today, they are the Kwame Pianims and the Akufo-Addos. They are in their 70s and perhaps maybe late 60s. The people who could afford MTN's cheap SIM cards, because I remember that time, young people in the university, they were just holding SIM card and they would say one day they will get a phone. So they will show you the SIM card, say, SIM card, they train one day, many a phone. Those people today are the likes of those of us who are in our 30s, 40s, and we're actually earning an income, and we also generate usage.
So MTN took a bet on the youth.
It took a bet on this. So it shifts. If the present needs of the market or the players in the market are not making the kind of investments to own the upcoming generation, like I talked about satellite technology, it means that very soon we'll get to a point those of us who are also in our 30s, 40s will move into where now we also are not really generating any.
But what about Airtel, Bharti, Indian, and then Tigo? Did they also not invest?
Because that marriage is a very...
No, I'm not even talking about
not a merger.
Just as individual brands.
I think when it comes to investment across, because I sat at the chamber, I can tell you for a fact, when it comes to investment, MTN was doing almost twice what everybody was doing.
Is it because they are an African company?
Well, there's no excuse for why you're not investing.
Because if you look at the other brands, Airtel is, I think, largely Indian.
Yes.
Tigo, I think it
has some
Hispanic
angle. Yeah, there's a Swedish
angle. Was
angle.
that part of that reason?
Ben, there's no excuse because you see, globally, I keep saying, where I sat, globally, Vodafone is within the top 10 telcos in the world. MTN is not even in the top 10. So if it's a question of your interest in the market, when it comes to investment, you find the money for it because you believe in the market and you want to grow the market. Unless you do not want to grow in the market, you do not see value in the market. Also, just to put on record that Vodafone had been one before Telecel came. More recently, Vodafone has been wanting that exit for close to 6 years ago.
So they've already lost interest in the Ghana market.
They've lost interest in the Ghana market. I can, from where I sit, I can say as early as 2018.
But what's funny is that in Kenya, Safaricom is Vodafone.
Yes.
Right? And they pioneered mobile money with M-Pesa.
Across the
but in Ghana, MTN went ahead of Vodafone in mobile. So could it be that the Vodafone ownership had a dim view of the Ghanaian market and the MTN had a different view of the Ghanaian market? Is that what is going on here?
As at early 2010s, when I used to work at MTN as a staff, MTN itself has seen Ghana as one of its top 3 markets.
Even then?
Even then. He has seen Ghana as one of his top 3 markets. So there was a consistent intention to grow and put money into. Even I remember when MTN started mobile money. The story has been told where the likes of Ebenezer Asante were given a blank check and they were told to try this thing in the market. There was no regulation, there was no law, but they took a bet on it. But I'm sure at that time, if you know, for those who are in the market, they'll tell you Vodafone was like, oh, there's no law, it's illegal to do.
But they were doing it in Kenya.
We are waiting until maybe there's a law, and the banks was also fighting. So MTN has always taken that risk. And it comes with the CDMA, GSMA conversation. It comes with the SIM card adoption conversation. It comes with a lot of things. And then the marketing side that even Maximo spoke about, including even investment.
Wow.
So it plays across almost every facet of the every facet of the industry.
Let me just take a quick comment on Airtel and Tigo, not the merger. Gentlemen, just your quick thoughts, because when Airtel came into the market, they were also big, and we thought that with the Indian consumer market experience, we're going to cause a major shift. It didn't really materialize. Tigo has been here since forever, but never really dominated the market. Any thoughts on this? Maximus first.
Yeah, Bernard, I think it's the same thing. You know, the fact that you focus on your customers, giving them the best of experiences so that you retain them, and then using, cultural actions to connect with them at the sentiment level, and of course, trying to always be the first mover in the market, introducing innovative, products and services so your customers can stay on your network. For me, those are the things that the others didn't do. As for changing logo, being branding, of course, everybody else can do it. But MTN, you go to the villages, they are painting buildings yellow, they are anything that is visible and inside where you have a lot more people, you will see yellow there, right? So that marketing approach was totally different, and they always were the first people to do something innovative in that space. They know Ghanaians love festivals, they love music, and they love fashion and all that. So they tapped into that particular, cultural, connections. And the Airtel and then the Vodafones and then even Millicom, they were selling products. MTN they started focusing on selling experiences, right? So MTN focused on experience. So when you buy their SIM card, it's not just data and voice. You can do so many other things. They connected, your lifestyle to the brand. For me, those are some of the things that MTN did, and they connected with the people, and they stayed in Ghana, and they are now a leader.
Quickly to Samuel, do you have any other anecdotes on Airtel and Tigo? Since you seem to have a lot of stories on Vodafone, do you have any insider filler on what happened to them prior to even the merger to become 80?
Well. So let me attack it from this angle rather. You see, MTN has proven that they are a typical African organization. So because today, and you were trying to make out where Tigo is coming from. They are a Swedish company. So today, if they say they cannot stay in the market anymore. When they pack out, they know where they are going. They are going to Sweden. Vodafone want to pack out. They pack out. They are going back to their country, UK. MTN is an African organization. If they pack out, they say they are going. They don't have anywhere to go. But in Africa, of course, the South Africa is there, but in Africa. But MTN is committed to being an African organization and to help develop Africa. And that is why MTN keeps investing. Let me even give you, so you mentioned something about mobile money, which I think is very, very, very important. Mobile money was begun by Safaricom, which is a Vodafone company. Why Vodafone is a shadow of itself when it comes to mobile money? Because again, their leadership, when we questioned them about mobile money, why they are not doing it, they told us that what MTN was doing, and you see, I always tell stories based on facts. Said that look, they said what MTN was doing is not ideal, and that Vodafone has got a blueprint. And so when Vodafone comes into the market, they are bringing the blueprint and they are coming to correct the things and do real mobile money. Okay, fast forward to today. Who is controlling the market? When MTN, and that's why what Pope said, taking the risk, and even Maximus, that MTN is willing to take a risk on Africa. Since for 6 years that MTN was investing in mobile money, from what Eli has been sharing, for 6 years they were not making any money. And like Pope said, they betted on Ebenezer Chuma certainty, and then Eli said, give them money. Let them just penetrate the market. For 6 years they were not making any money. Why? Because merchants were getting to know people's paying numbers, and they were stealing people's money, and then MTN then had to pay those monies back. They were losing money. But after 6 years, when we are now at the ideal situation in terms of what Vodafone called the blueprints, who is controlling the market now? Go and check the numbers. Go and check the numbers. Over almost 90% of the revenue of mobile money in the country now is going to MTN. You understand? And because MTN took a bet on Africa. So that has been the challenge. Many times MTN is investing, the rest sit down. Look, I remember MMP, where a mobile number portability.
Number portability.
When he came first, I interviewed the Tigo CEO. He says, mobile number portability, anywhere you have done it, it doesn't work. And then the group started calling him and telling him that, look, this is an opportunity for you to go after some people's customers. Look at the comments you are making. Then he calls me, we need to change the story. I said, but you said it. So it tells you that the attitude from the leaderships that have run the other telcos is always like, if something happens, we know we are not ready to bet. We are not ready to invest. We are not ready to.
All right. Let me. You are still on fire. So let me take another water break, and this time we'll look at the 15% and the SMP quickly. This is the point of view. Stay with us.
Finally, anyone can become a household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated prizes, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
Welcome back. We're still on the point of view looking at the telco sector generally and the latest development. Derek, this 15% across the board increment of tariffs from MTN, is it attributable to the declaration of MTN as a SIM card market player? Is it correct?
Straightforward, yes.
It is correct?
It's correct.
So did the NCA miss a trick? Because when they declared MTN SMP, it was 2020. Mm-hmm. I think they've gotten stronger. But between the 3 years, they've got to. So what is the point of that?
Bernard, if I look at some of my Facebook posts I made in 2020 when the declaration was made, I remember I stated that when the MTN tried to go to court, if you remember, they tried to go to court to fight the declaration, and at some point they pulled back and they stopped. it was at that point some of us began to notice that if you do a careful analysis of the way the law is and the way the declaration is, MTN will continue to be stronger. So there was no need fighting something you know that is still not going to go anywhere or is not going to hurt you. That's why somebody should be asking that question.
So what's the structure? Why do you say that?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why. And I think a greater portion of that reason is the fact that considering the investment that has been made and the positioning of MTN in the market, it will take God to destroy MTN's position in the market as number one. It will take God. I'm saying that for a lot of reasons. Before we went into a declaration, and then the question I keep asking my friends typically has been, they said, oh, but the law requires that MTN should be declared SMP. I said, yes, the law requires. That law goes back into 2005, the National Telecom Policy, which is its leg found in the EC, Electronic Communications Act. If you read it carefully, you see that, Bernard, a fast-moving industry like telecommunications in the tech area, in the tech sector, within 1 year, even 6 months, a lot can change. So when you write a law in 2005 and you want to implement the law after about, let me say, 15 years, and you are implementing it without doing a review of the law first, you're definitely going to have a situation where it's almost like you are introducing a fix to a problem that does not even exist in the manner that the fix is supposed to deal with. So yes, the fix has been introduced, but obviously, if there was a some pro and con analysis that was done before the law the declaration was done, obviously we could have looked at certain specific things that we could have addressed. For me, a couple of them has been investments. If you look at
hold on, the SMP was declared to facilitate more competition, and I think the main thrust for that in terms of price was that the significant market player cannot price below the interconnect rate.
Yes.
And must maintain parity in off-net and on-net prices and ensure that their prices are not the cheapest in the market.
That's a strong one because, Bernard, and just to make it simple, because we are talking to people who are not in the industry, the summary of all of what you just said is that pricing, because up until this time, before MTN was declared, every telco can price whatever they want to price because of the market liberalization I talked about, and then also the fact that because of competition, telcos have their power to price anything as and when. But once you are declared an SMP, the rules require that even if you want to price high or price low, you have to get approval from the NCA. But there should be a clear objective, which is that if everybody is charging 1, you cannot be at 1. You have to be above 1. You have to be 1.1 or 1.2. Because going below 1,
so they will be forced to charge higher once their competition.
Exactly. That's why I made the argument that
raises their price.
There's no way MTN could have done this 15% on their free will. They got approval from the NCA and the Ministry of Communications.
So can we say that NCA's policy has backfired?
It's backfired. It hasn't worked to the intentions with which the declaration was made. And Bernard, if you date back to when the declaration was made, at that time I was very close to the industry. There was a bit of a fight going on by that time. And so I felt like it was almost like I would teach you a lesson declaration at the back of the intention of that. It was
not necessarily research driven, but more emotional.
More emotional because then in 2014, MTN has been leading the market with over that 45% market share. Omanebo Ama saw this. I'm sure some ex-ministers saw this. But obviously there were a lot of negotiations in the back that shows that this thing might not necessarily give you the results that you're looking for, and there's a need to consult closely with the industry. And I talk about investment because spectrum, this year alone, MTN has bought spectrum, $36 million. And what is spectrum for? Spectrum is not bought because you buy it for fun. It's bought because you want to make sure that the experience on your network is great. So it's almost like you are driving a Benz bus. Suddenly the Benz bus can fit 20 people. Right now you have 30 people. You have to buy another Benz bus. So once they buy the Benz bus and the 10 enter, there will be space for extra people. So they will continue to expand the network to make sure that they can get a lot more people in. So in one breath, you are enabling the growth of the MNO. In another breath, we have a declaration 3 years ago that says that don't grow more than you're supposed to grow because you are being seen as a dominant.
The regulator is blowing hot and cold.
It's almost like a hot and cold. If you look at it carefully, it does not, some of the actions of the regulator does not match with the intention of what the law is supposed to do.
Maximus, there's a new player in the market, Telcel.
Telcel, yeah. Telcel.
70% of Vodafone. Do you foresee any change in the market dynamic in the near future because they are new guys, probably new energy?
No, zero. Like Pope said, for me, it would take more than a decade for anybody to even come close to MTN figure. Really, the person has to come up with something disruptive, something different from what we currently have. But when if they want to use pricing, it's not going to affect any change. It's not going to correct any imbalances. It's not going to happen.
So we are saying that the telco industry today is worse for competition than it was even 10 years ago. And the NCA's policy has made things worse.
I'm not sure. I won't say worse.
In terms of competition, I'm talking for competition. I'm not talking about quality of service. Yeah. Competition-wise, it's worse.
Yeah, so why do you want to create competition? The competition has been there already. But one person was always at the forefront, innovating, doing a lot more things to get more customers. Now you have a lot more customers on this side. Then you think, oh, let's punch, a hole
because Maximus, theoretically in economics, when you are more competitive, there's better products generally and lower prices. So the assumption is that in a monopoly, the person who has the monopoly has no incentive to reduce price and to increase quality or invest. But if you have competition, generally, this is theory, you're going to have better service and lower prices. So I think that's the assumption the NCA was coming from.
Yeah, but Bernard, see, customers do not move just because the cost of connection is cheaper. Now you have a market leader who is very profitable, making billions of Ghana cedis in revenue. Now you are telling them increase your revenue by 15%, which may even result in less than 20% of their customers dropping. You are going to make them more money. It means they are going to have more money to invest in more technologies that others cannot compete against. So I don't know how it's going to benefit customers, whether people will move from MTN when the other telcos are even co-locating on the MTN network.
All right. Let me take a final comment from Sami before I come in close. Sami, what's the future of the sector? Do you also agree that MTN is going to dominate for the next foreseeable future, or will the changes we see in Vodafone and Airtel Tigo bring some transformation?
Okay, so Bernard, if you look at the trajectory, for instance, at the time when MTN was declared, SMP, June 2020, per the NCA's own records, they said at the time MTN had 55% of the market. Now, 3 years on, 2003, February, when NCA was presenting their report at Meet the Press at the Ministry of Information, 3 years on, MTN was on 62%. So the question is, has your SMP, rules or your SMP intervention, has it yielded the result that you were looking for, i.e. trying to curtail MTN so that the others will grow? The answer is a big no. You understand? So if anybody says that if you are looking for numbers to back whether competition is worse off or is better, then this number should tell you that we are worse off. It only means that the fact that you have declared one player SMP and you are saying that they should raise their prices and then others should lower their prices, it will not automatically translate into me saying, oh, I am leaving MTN and I'm going to join Vodafone.
All right.
Quality of service is very, very critical. And all comes down to investment.
Okay.
Look at last year, by the close of last year, MTN talked about how much they have invested into the market, and we're talking about 2 billion cedis or so. With your SMP intervention, you saved about 86 million for the three telcos to share and invest. 2 billion against 86 million. What? I mean, how are they going to compete with MTN in spite of the fact that you made MTN SMP? So, with the situation we have, I said that our regulator has created a monster. It's like you brought a certain animal to your house and you saw, oh, this is the cat. And then as you are feeding the cat now goes into a lion. Now the cat has gone into a lion. You want to tame the lion and you are still using instruments that you're using taming cats to try to tame a lion. You created the lion, and now you are just in taming cap to tame the lion.
Oh, yeah, Mojata. Oh, yeah, Mojata. All right, just a quick comment. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Samuel. Look, I love your contribution. Wrap up for me and also tell me what happened to Selfline.
No, so Ben, you see, so in summary, what for me is happening is that what you talked about is the fact that even though MTN has been the market leader over the last foreseeable previous years that we've come from, the truth is that from an economic standpoint, even though they were the market leader, they were still pricing lesser than the market. Also important, they were investing more than the market. So what is the ingredients that were supposed to be existent to call them an SMP wasn't existent. So it's almost like we declared an SMP without a competition.
And now you are paying the price.
And now the customers are paying the price.
What happened to Selfline?
Selfline, I was a customer of Selfline, interestingly, in one of my, I have Selfline services in one of my places. And then what happened was, one day we just realized we weren't getting service. And then we were told that they couldn't afford, they had some issues. You know, they were picking tower services from the likes of MTN and Co. And I think over the period, they've been in heavy debts. And obviously, once you cannot even deal with your straightforward operational costs that should keep the service running, they were cut off the service. And then obviously, the regulator could not even, we couldn't even resolve the issue to the point where people who had paid for and bought credits couldn't even be refunded. And since like Q1, since they went off, the service has been out and people have lost money.
We'll leave it there. Thank you. We've been talking to Derek Lai, a telco industry analyst, Maximus Ametogo, CEO of Pop Out Technology, is also an analyst of the sector, Samuel Dona, a journalist, managing editor of Tech Focus 24 on the state of the telco sector. I hope you've learned something new. My name is Bernard Avle. We'll see you next time. Stay with CTTV. Bye-bye.